Welcome you all to CHD 203, Children's Literature and Language Development. My name is Tracy Murph and I am your instructor for this course. The first chapter is the what and why of emergent literacy. This chapter will explain the components that make up literacy, especially early literacy. We will provide an overview of the importance of early literacy instruction and support those claims with research. Theories of early literacy learning. The earliest years of children's lives are characterized by rapid growth and development. Birth through kindergarten is the fastest period of growth and development in a child's life. This period shapes learning, creating either a very strong foundation or a fragile start for future development. Jean Piaget and Lev Vygotsky shaped our understanding of language development as a key to literacy. Piaget emphasized cognitive readiness before language use, while Vygotsky highlighted social interaction and culture as drivers of language development. Research systematically studies children's development, and literacy theories use those findings to guide how teachers support literacy learning. Morfitt and Washburn were two theorists who kind of coined the phrase reading readiness. So in 1931, Morfitt and Washburn found that children with a cognitive age of around 6.5 showed greater reading gains, concluding that reading instruction is most effective when children are developmentally ready. Rather than waiting for natural readiness, educators promoted reading readiness by teaching prerequisite skills. They delayed their formal reading instruction until first grade, and this was an approach that prevailed and that we used in education before emergent literacy came on the scene. So those prerequisite skills that Morfitt and Washburn said that children needed to know were auditory discrimination, like hearing that words rhyme or sounds of letters, visual discrimination, color recognition, recognizing letters and the shapes of them, left to right eye movement, visual motor skills like cutting on a line, coloring within the lines, and then large motor skills like skipping and hopping and running. All of these were kind of those prerequisite skills, those skills, precursor skills, skills that children needed before we tried to start that formal reading instruction. So then there was a paradigm shift. And somewhere around 1949, Almy she challenged reading readiness, emphasizing that children's reading success depends on prior experiences, learning environments, and individual interests, not just a child's age. It wasn't like they just got to a certain age, she said, and then all of a sudden they could begin to learn. That all these things, like their prior experiences, if they had been read to and talked to and exposed to all these different experiences, the environment in which they were in, and then their interest. Are they ready to do it? That all of those things played a role as well. Then on the scene in 1966 became Marie Clay. And Marie Clay studied how young children learn to read and write. She believed children should hear good literature, that we should read good literature to children. Hear those good stories read aloud over and over and over again. She saw scribbling, just making marks on a paper, as a first step to learning to write. Those were those developmental writing milestones. She also recognized pre-reading behaviors, like just picking up a book and using the pictures to tell a story. No regard to what the word said, but just telling a story by looking at the pictures as those developmental reading skills as well, those milestones that children would go through. Emergent literacy, she went on to coin the phrase emergent literacy, and which we define as early reading and writing behaviors. Okay, that is exactly what emergent literacy means. Early reading and writing behaviors like scribbling, pretend reading, having knowledge about books, like knowing that a book tells a story, having that interest about print, asking questions about things that children see in their environment. And emergent, we talked about this in class. Emergent means something that comes before, right? So emergent literacy, those skills that you see right there, early reading and writing behaviors, knowledge about books and print, and interest and curiosity about print, those are all things that come before conventional reading and writing. Conventional reading and writing means being able to write a real word, being able to pick up a book and read words from a page. That is conventional reading and writing. So those skills that you see before you are precursors, things that children need to do before conventional literacy. So emergent literacy will develop naturally without formal instruction through everyday interactions and rich learning environments. And the interactions and the rich learning environments are what you provide. When they come to your classroom, you're providing those wonderful, engaging interactions and those rich learning environments for children. With the concept of emergent literacy, we understand that children actively engage in real literacy behaviors right from the start, right from infancy. Reading does not begin after mastering pre-reading skills. It begins very early through meaningful experiences. So, section 1.2 discusses the 4 emergent literacy components, which are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And they work together. Okay, so all 4 of those are going to work together as children learn over time. Children are never too young to begin learning literacy. And while they are naturally observant, they need adult interaction and modeling, along with age-appropriate instruction to build these skills. So let's talk a little bit about them. Listening. Listening supports later speaking, reading, and writing by helping children learn to recognize and distinguish sounds, a skill that develops later on into phonological awareness, which is essential for reading and writing. Speaking. Speaking develops through listening. They are interrelated. As children internalize and repeat the language they hear. We talked about this in class. As adults, we naturally support this process by baby talk or parentese, which includes a higher pitched sing-song voice, those stretched out vowels that make language easier for infants to learn. Like we say, oh, you were so cute. Oh my goodness. Don't you want to catch the ball? That's parentese or baby talk. Speaking development includes learning vocabulary, which grows naturally through listening and talking, and can be intentionally supported through strategies such as modeling, turn-taking conversations, songs, poems, rhymes, and vocabulary activities like list, group, label. And we're going to talk all about those as we go throughout this course. Reading. Here's number 3 of the 4 emergent literacy components. Reading. Reading is the ability to make meaning from written words and is supported by exposure to books and other print materials. Reading development is strengthened through interactive read-alouds, audiobooks, book discussions, and hands-on storytelling activities such as puppets or flannel boards. And the 4th, writing. Writing is the way we communicate meaning through print, and it begins long before children can write words, including oral storytelling, describing ideas, and showing understanding. Children learn about writing by making marks and watching adults write. And when they understand that their marks have meaning, that is the moment they are considered writers. Even if those marks are just scribbles and circles, they are writers. Writing development is supported through shared writing, access to materials, and writing children's words for them when given permission. Viewing and making concepts beyond print. Research will support the idea that technology can be used effectively with young children, but that educators need to be critical and selective in what and how they use technology for educational purposes. Therefore, anytime we're using technology with young children, it should be developmentally appropriate, meaning the type of technology we're using as well as the amount of time in which we are using it. Section 1.4 is about the importance of early literacy experiences. The years from birth to kindergarten are critical for developing listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills. Research shows that a strong early literacy foundation leads to later reading success, and that preschool language comprehension strongly depicts reading comprehension in the early elementary years. I want you to look on your textbook on page 12 at figure 1.8. It's a chart that just says these are the skills developed from birth to 5 that predict later literacy success. And I want you to read the skill, the definition, and then look at the example. And I think you'll be amazed at what children learn through the age of 5 that impacts their literacy learning for the rest of their lives. I think you'll be very shocked by looking at that list. And we'll talk about that list in class. Literacy is often viewed as a set of observable skills, such as writing a name or identifying letters, but it is so much more than isolated skills. Literacy includes understanding how, when, and why to use reading and writing in real life and social contexts. Literacy is closely connected to human interaction and is more than learning how to read and write words. It includes the ability to communicate meaning across all different languages, modes, and social contexts. Literacy begins at birth and is the process of making meaning in everyday life, both in and out of school. Children's literacy develops through real-world social interactions, which shape how meaning is created across different contexts and time periods. But before children read and write, they first learn language through interactions with adults. Early literacy begins with language exposure, and the primary goal is for children to become aware, interested, and active in making meaning, which later supports that speech and literacy development. So why do you matter? Why does the teacher matter? The National Association for the Education of Young Children, NAEYC, defines a high-quality program as one that provides a safe, nurturing environment that supports children's physical, social, emotional, and cognitive development while respecting those family needs. High-quality settings help children build knowledge about themselves, others, and their social and cultural world. Early childhood educators support literacy growth by engaging children in meaningful social interactions, and the quality learning depends on the teacher's understanding of why and how their instructional choices impact children. Deliberate, knowing why you're doing something and how to do it. Those are the two main things, and that's why you matter. So that concludes chapter 1, and I'll see you next time, and I'm going to leave you with a Pete the Cat video. It's been trying to play the whole time, and it's one of my favorites. I love my white shoes. I love my white shoes. I love my white shoes. I love my white shoes.
Pete the cat was walking down the street in his brand new white shoes. Pete loved his white shoes so much, he sang this song.
I love my white shoes. 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 I love my white shoes.
Oh, no. Pete stepped in a large pile of strawberries. What color did it turn his shoes? Did Pete cry? He kept walking along and singing his song.
I love my red shoes. 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 I love my red.
Oh no! Pete stepped in a large pile of blueberries. What color did it turn his shoes? Did Pete cry? He kept walking along and singing his song.
I love my blue shoes. 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 I love
Oh no! Pete stepped in a large puddle of mud. What color did it turn his shoes? Did Pete cry?
snap.
He kept walking along and singing his song.
I love my blue shoes. I love my blue shoes. I love my blue shoes. I love my brown shoes. I love my brown shoes. I love my brown shoes.
Oh no! Pete stepped in a bucket of water, and all the brown, and all the blue, and all the red were washed away. What color were his shoes again?
What?
But now they were wet. Did Pete cry? He kept walking along and singing his song.
I love my red shoes. 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 My red shoes.
The moral of Pete's story is no matter what you step in, keep walking along and singing your song because it's all